another episode of The Proud Skill Worker. Today we have an opportunity to talk with Jacob. Jacob, thank you so much for being on the show today.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah. So how this show kind of operates, Jacob, if you haven't watched it before, which could be weird because you're on it, we take a little bit of time in the beginning here to just have you tell your story, how you got into the trades, kind of what drew you into it, where you are now, where you've been. So if you can, how'd you get into the trades? Where you been? What have you been up to?
So I was actually working as like a maintenance, as a facilities maintenance when I was in high school through a company. And once I graduated, they offered to send me to school to be what I am now, to be industrial maintenance technician. So that's what I did. I went to school, stayed there I pretty much grew up in that plant. I was there from the time I was like right till when I turned 16 till a year ago. So I've been there a while. And then that's kind of how I got into it. I just really fell in love with it, like just fixing things, just working on things. I just enjoy it. So
that's great. What the program you went through? You said they put you through a school. So what type of program was it? Is it 2 years?
It was like it was called work-based learning. So I went to high school I did it my junior and my senior year. Mm-hmm. So I would go to school for like 4 hours for 4 periods, and then I would go to work for 4 hours. And then, I did that my junior and my senior year. I think my junior year, I worked at night. Yeah. My junior year, I would go to school for 4 hours, and then I would get out of school and go to work. And then my senior year, I went to work for 4 hours in the morning first, and then I went to school. So
that's really cool. So first 2 years of your professional experience were done kind of in a hybrid model. And then after that, they sent you said you went to an actual program
I went to a college, for a 2 year, kind of like an associate's, I guess, but it was like just a diploma degree. It was just a technical college. I went to a technical college for 2 years for industrial maintenance.
Yep. And so everybody knows, when we talk about just a technical college, it's not just a technical college. Those institutions are absolutely outstanding. They're doing a wonderful job. They're providing a resource. Don't discredit those.
Because they're
Jacob,
more for the trades,
right. Yeah, for yourself or for anybody who attends them. I just don't want anybody to ever feel like it's not a great thing. So as you've kind of transitioned through this, so this is weird because you're going to have a lot of life experience change in your time in the industry. So from the time you were 16, hit the industry to today, what have been some of the biggest challenges that you've faced?
I guess really proving myself, not as much to myself, but that I have the knowledge that I've learned because a lot of the trade is it's older men, the older generation. Most of it is men that are elderly to me, so I'm really young in the trade. And that's the main thing, I guess, just showing that I can do the job too. That was one of the main things, just being trusted, I guess. But once you gain that trust, then you just have it really, it's not something you really lose a lot. If you're good at your job, you do your job well. And then you say, hey, we can trust him, and then from there, it just builds more and more.
And that's every industry though, right? Anywhere you go, there's always that, hey, can you do the job? Can you actually get done what we need you to get done? Can you take this to the next level for us? Or is this going to be a drain? Is this going to be that? So as you kind of went through that, did you feel like people were more rude and off-putting or just distant with you as you transitioned?
No, it depended because, nothing against my generation, but my generation in a little bit, because I was at the tail, I guess at the very beginning, more or less. I'm a 98 baby. So, I guess you could call it at the beginning, but I was in the middle, I guess. I don't really know when, but most of the guys that I've worked with around my age or guys that I've experienced around my age, they're kind of lackadaisical, and just, I kind of had to prove that I wasn't that way too as well, because it's they get this stereotype of the generation, and then it's oh, well, maybe they're all that way. And I guess that was a big thing as well, because there was a few guys that I worked with when I was in high school that just 1 or 2 weeks in, they just didn't want to do the work anymore. And then same once I actually get out of high school, they hired some younger guys, and they just didn't seem like they wanted to do the work as much, you know?
Yeah, that's a difficult challenge to get over, right? Is beating the stigma
Yeah.
of the age gap or
Yeah.
of the generation you're a part of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So as we kind of transition over, that's been the most challenging part, which that's a challenge for anybody getting into this field right now, right? It's this idea of how do we refresh the trades while also reinvigorating it, because people just don't approach their job with vigor anymore. They don't seem to bring a tenacity to what they do. In general, I mean, there's still people who do, but and I think a majority of people want to. They just need to find what they're interested in, and I think people get lost. But so most challenging part we've covered. What's been the most exciting part of it?
Just learning. I mean, like that's been the most exciting thing for sure. Just trying to soak everything up that I can, you know, no matter if someone is kind of standoffish or not, you know, just sitting back and just saying, if you're going to be standoffish, that's fine, but I'm going to be in your back pocket. You know, I'm going to be there because I want to know everything. Even if you're not going to show me, you know, and put an effort in training me, I'm still going to be putting the effort in to be trained. You know, that's really the main thing, is just having the drive to want to learn. You know, that's been the most fun thing, is just growing, learning as much as I can, you know, from whoever, you know, whether it's an operator or, you know, whether it's another senior maintenance technician or someone that just came in the door. You know, everybody's got something that they can show you, you know. So
talk about growing and learning. What do you think are the most important skills to have, grow in, and possess a tenacity for in the maintenance field? So what do you think what are the most important in your opinion?
I guess just a will to learn, really, a will to work and learn. I mean, not so much as the knowledge of how to turn a wrench from the get-go. I mean, I don't even think that's one of the top priorities. Like that, I think that can be learned if you're willing to learn it. You know, if you know how to turn a wrench and you come in and you're not really willing to work with anyone or willing to communicate or, you know, kind of mesh with what's already there, then I think that makes it more difficult, because it's like a family, you know. It becomes like a family. Like, you work together day in and day out. Y'all work on stuff together. Y'all get to know each other, you know, and just if you can't mesh with that and you're not willing to learn, then it becomes difficult for sure.
Yeah.
12 hours, willing to work, you know.
12 hours a day, 6 days a week will unite you quickly.
You're pretty much spending more time with them than you are your own family. So, you know, you become close.
Yeah. I think it's important you talked about why these skills matter, right? This is a small bond community in every facility you go into. So maintenance is a small bond, tight-knit group. Typically, it encompasses about 10, maybe 12% of the facility's total bodies. You know, so a facility of 500 might have 45, 50 people in maintenance, if that. So it's a very small niche. So you gotta be able to fit in. You gotta be able to be a part of it. You gotta want to learn it, and then show people that. So when you kind of step into these new environments, and when you stepped into this new environment at 16, and then again a year ago, as you talked about, how do you, one, learn these skills? So how do you learn how to apply the skills? And then how do you learn how to let people see them? Because you may want to learn, but if someone doesn't interpret it that way, or if someone takes it more as like, well, he's just standing in the background watching. Yeah, but that's just how you learn. So how do you go about those two things? How do you learn them? And then how do you implement them?
So I guess kind of got to think about that one. I'll just take, for instance, when I came to this facility that I'm at right now. So coming into the facility, the maintenance crew was a lot younger at this facility I'm at. So it's a plant that's 3-4 years old. The most senior guy had been there 2 years. He's mid 40s, but the rest of the maintenance crew is 20s, in their late 20s, most of them. So when it came to that part of it, it was like a lot easier to kind of mesh, because there wasn't much of an age difference. So like we came up around the same things, you know, things of that nature. Outside of work, we related. And then inside of work, it was we just all learned together. Well, they kind of already knew, some things just because they had been there. But when it came to me actually trying to apply myself, it was almost just sitting back and watching and reading them a little bit, seeing how they work together, seeing what they do together. And then kind of applying myself to that, not so much changing who I am or how I am, but just adjusting to, it's not all about them adjusting to you, but it's also you adjusting to them, more or less, like you both gotta kind of shift the way you do things a little bit. So that's the main thing too, just growing together and getting along.
I think it's really interesting you bring this up, and you brought it up layered, which is really cool. So this idea that when you enter a new facility, you have to understand the dynamic of it. So you have to know each facility has a little different dynamic. And then you layered in even the demographic or the age, right? So a facility that would have been older, more established, people in their late 50s, even 60s, it would have been more difficult to integrate into that facility because there wouldn't have been a personal tie. There wouldn't have been a cultural tie. So you're able to knock those out. And then for the people who you didn't, as you talk about, is, hey, sometimes it's best to just sit and listen and watch for a minute instead of trying to be the bull in the china shop, trying to be the go-getter right away. People want you to be a go-getter. They really do. But they want you to ask a few questions along the way, like, hey, if I wanted to do X, is this the way you guys would do it? Even if you know it's the right answer, going to them to get that is really valuable in building a relationship at the beginning.
Yep, 100%. Even if you know certain things, sometimes it's better to ask about certain things just because it builds that relationship, And
as you said, it builds it. So you go, hey, this is a breakdown. I've seen it before in the past. We did this. How would you go about that?
Yep. Because at the same time, once you begin to like think alike and realize that is there too, that y'all solve issues the same way, more or less, it builds that relationship and that trust as well. Because it's like, oh, he's probably going to do it the same way I would do it. So we'll let him do it, because either way, it's probably going to be done the same way.
That's right. Yeah. And it kind of washes away that previous stigma we talked about of, okay, well, he's from a different planet, so maybe they do things different over there. No, we do things the same. And if you did something different, they may say, hey, actually here, that doesn't work because X, Y, and Z. And you can say, okay, I probably wouldn't have seen that, but I love that experience. So this like yin and yang balance that you get to generate with people. And it's incredibly easy to do if you're open, eager to learn, and willing to say, hey, will you help me?
Yep, 100%.
I think those are great skills. What I love most about doing this little mini series that we're doing is we get to understand people's skills and how they grow and how to really be better in this industry. This is our fifth week of this, so we've had 5 of these. Not a single person has actually brought up technical skills being the most important. So everybody has brought up some variety of a soft skill, something that you need to work on and develop. And it's all about whether or not people want to be around you and want to work with you. And I find that incredibly fascinating in an industry that prides itself on their abilities. The most valuable ability is themselves, is their personality, is their ability to adapt. So it's just really fun to see. But this is the part of the show, Jacob, where I like to turn it over to you. I'm going to give you 5, 10, 20, however long you want, to imagine you had everybody in the industry. So every maintenance technician in the industry across all platforms, listening to the words you're going to say. What would you say to the industry as a whole that you think could shape it?
Really just being open-minded. That would probably be the main thing, really. Because it's just the same thing we've been talking about. I guess we can have skills and we can have the ability to work on things and the knowledge to work on things. But if we can't relate that to others and we keep it all to ourselves and we're not open-minded to be able to help others, because I feel like that's the point. The point in like my life in general is not to kind of just learn as much as I can and keep it to myself. It's not really doing any good if I'm just reading all these books and learning all these things and I just don't ever do anything with it, because I feel like you could do that and even you wouldn't use all the knowledge that you had, So if you have the ability to help others with that knowledge that you've gained, and then others have the ability to help you with the knowledge that they've gained, there's nothing that could really stop you. Like that's it. It's infinite of the possibilities once you begin to think that way, because you take 5 maintenance guys, that have all worked at 5 different plants, and if they have no prejudice of who's who, and almost you just blindfold them and they just talk, with no prejudice. I mean, the amount of knowledge that would come out of that, if they're willing to share everything that they know with every other guy, would just be a ridiculous amount of knowledge, and it's just, I think that has to do with being open-minded and willing to just share whatever you have learned and gained in your job, like in your career, just being willing to share it. That's the main thing. Not having a prejudice, not having a stigma, stereotype. It's just being open-minded and willing to receive and give knowledge.
And I love that so much. I think it's so valuable in this era of everybody wanting to have their own intrinsic worth. Everybody wanted to be the guy. Everybody wanted to be the individual who, I'm the only one who can fix this. It becomes a symbol of pride to be the only person who knows it, where in reality, you're limiting your ability and the ability of everybody who comes behind you. So it's so powerful to hear people say that, because
I think it makes your job a lot harder. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
Even then it makes you have to work more, like if you're not willing to share your knowledge, then I guess some guys enjoy that, like being the only guy to call. But it's like, man, like the workload, could be dispersed if the knowledge is just shared community, over the whole team, So that's one of the reasons why I kind of took this kind of job, because I was just like, the amount of things that I'll be able to learn are just amazing. That there's no telling what I'll be working on next, where I'll be next. And then just being able to share that with everyone else, having all the experiences to just say, hey, I've dealt with something like this before. Maybe we could try this or that, and then same thing from someone else, maybe they've tried it a different way, done it a different way, so.
Yeah. I think it's so important to just know that, right? To not reflect on everything that we give to everybody, but recognize that everything we give away comes back to us tenfold. So, hey, I gave you a lot of knowledge. What did I get out of it? More free time. What did I get out of it? Less stress. What did I get out of it? 3 more generations of people who know how to do this task. And it's just, it's a long game. It is. It takes a lot longer for that to be the case. But I'll give up short-term wins for long-term success any day. So, Jacob, thank you so much for being on the show. Thanks so much for your wisdom. Based on our conversation today, I can tell you right now, you are light years ahead of the majority of people in your age demographic, both maturity and just the way you see the world, which is awesome. And just a huge thank you to you for being on the show. Thank you to everybody who's listening, who continues to subscribe. If you want to be on the show, please reach out. If you have comments, leave them below. We do go through and read those. We respond to those. I mean, we love interacting with the people. So feel free to reach out. Jacob, any last words before we sign off?
Well, you did say that I'm light years ahead in wisdom and whatnot, but the only I just got to give thanks to God for that. That's why I am where I am. Really, that's why I have the understanding I have, the wisdom I have. I couldn't do it or have all of the knowledge that I have without that. So that's definitely a big part of my life.
Amen to that. Amen to you. God bless you. God bless your family. Everybody watching, God bless you all. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Thanks.